Good morning everybody. Today we're going to look at skies, and I'm going to create a sky lifting out some clouds with kitchen towel. So to begin with, I'm going to wet my page with clean water, and I'm going to cover that upper area, which is my sky area, with water. Into that now I'm going to add some ultramarine blue, but first of all I'm going to let it soak in for a few seconds. So now that it's ready, I'm just going to start dropping my colour in. Now this could be, I suppose, a summer sky, being so blue. So I'm going to keep a lot of my colour here at the top and bring it down. So as before, we've done skies with graduated washes, so where most of the colour would be at the top. This would be similar in that we want less colour as we go down towards the horizon line. But at the same time, for this method to work, we need a depth of colour. So now I'm not going to add any more paint to that brush. I'm just adding clean water to lighten off that sky as it approaches just that horizon line there. Now this is something that I can only do while the paint is wet, while the wash is wet. Once it's dry, I obviously won't be able to lift paint out in this way. Now I'm going to give it more colour on top there, because I know this is going to dry slightly lighter. So now that's about ready, so I'm going to work. Now I'm working on a very small area here, but if you were working on a big area, you really would need to work kind of fast. So I'm getting my kitchen towel and I'm folding it. So now I'm creating bigger clouds at the top. So each time I make a cloud, I turn my tissue around so that it's clean, so that I'm not reintroducing colour back into the cloud. So I'm just making that one a little bit bigger up here. So I'll have bigger ones at the top and making them smaller as they approach the horizon line. So I'm trying to get them to be kind of organic as well. So it's important to keep changing around each time, because you don't want to introduce colour back into that cloud. So I'm tapping rather than dragging or pulling. So now as it gets down near the horizon line, I'm going to start getting smaller. So I'll work along until I'm happy that I have the amount of cloud coverage that I want. I'm trying to vary them in shape as well. And you can see what I mean about having a good depth of colour. You really see them where the colour is deep, less so as they come near the horizon line there. So we'll put in a couple more up here. So you can have lots of fun with this, and you can do as many or as little as you like, really. I'm just doing it to show you how to achieve it, so I'm putting in maybe more than I would normally do. So that's it, and when it's dry now, we'll go back in and we work on each of the clouds. Now if you wanted to, you could leave it this way and it would be a perfectly fine cloudy sky or cloudy summer's day. So you could do that, but we're just going to go back in and give each of the clouds a little bit of shadow. Now this little sky is dry. We're going to go back in now and we're going to put some shadow on each of those clouds. And the way I do that is I'm going to wet each cloud individually, and I'm going to add a little bit of grey to the cloud. So I'm wetting each cloud at the bottom there, and I'm just going to drop in a little bit of shadow colour. Now the shadow colour is made with my ultramarine blue, and I'm adding a little bit of rose madder to it. So this will give me a kind of a, I suppose, a purpley blue. So I'm just going to drop in a little bit of that into the cloud area now, just where I wet. And where it's wet, it'll just find its own path and feed its way up. It'll bleed into that wet wash, into water. So this just gives the cloud a little bit of shadow. Now I'm going to soften it out with a little bit of blending, and I'm doing that with a dampish brush just up further, just leaving the shadow at the bottom part of the cloud. Just blending it up along. And what I really want is to keep some of that whiteness at the top and just have the shadow towards the bottom of the cloud. So I'm just going back up here to this one, and I'll add the water at the bottom of the cloud. And again, I'll add my shadow colour in there. And I'll blend it out again with a little bit more of water and a damp brush, taking care to leave that top area white. So I'll continue on like that till I have all of the clouds done. Now that's most of my clouds done, and you can see that as I come down near the horizon line that they're very small. So now what I'm going to do now again is I'm going to go back in further, and I'm going to darken some of these bigger ones slightly. So into that mix now I'm going to add a tiny little bit of burnt sienna, and this will make it grey, a deeper tone of grey. So again I'm going to wet the ones where I want to put this darker shadow. So just maybe around here. I'm not doing it everywhere, just in little areas. So it just gives that cloud a little bit more definition again with some darker tones. Now I'm only going to do some of the bigger ones. Again, I'll add a little bit to this one here again at the very bottom, just in spots. And I'm going to blend it back in again with a dampish brush, just to soften it. I don't want it too pronounced, just a tiny little bit of shadow. And maybe this one up here. Again, just this area here. And you can build like that, continue to build like that. Of course, as I come down, if I want to add any more coming down, these areas will have to be smaller. These little clouds need to be smaller, so in making them smaller, I'm creating a little bit of perspective and distance in my sky. So creating these smaller clouds makes them much further away. So that's it, more or less, so I'll leave it at that. Now I'm just going to put in a little bit of land here underneath my sky, just to give it a context. I'm just going to paint a little bit of clear water along that line, just about a quarter of an inch, or not even that, up into the sky. And into that then I'm going to drop a kind of a bluey red purpley mix. So I'm mixing my ultramarine blue and that rose madder in, and I'm just going to drop in some maybe just distant trees or whatever they are, they can be. And again, where the water is, they'll flow and create just some kind of landmass in the background there. And it'll be bluey, so it will almost fade into the sky and look like it's very far in the distance. Making them different in some areas, not all the same. Varying them a little bit. And now I'm just going to mix a little bit of yellow into that. And bring it forward a little bit more. There's my sky, my summer sky. So this is the finished result, my summer sky with the lifting out method. Give it a go, and I hope to see you soon.